Alright, let's talk about Ukraine for a moment. Now, of course, this week Joe Biden has surprised many by granting permission to Ukraine to use their so-called ATACMS missiles, long-range missiles, and launch them into Russia. Now, since then, by the way, also the UK has granted permission to use their Storm Shadows missiles, and some other countries may do something similar. Now, this has raised a lot of questions and also a lot of concerns. Now, Ukraine has been asking for permission to do this for a long time. Now, the Biden administration has always refused due to concerns that this could mean a major escalation, a very dangerous escalation of this war. But now all of a sudden, Joe Biden said, you know what? Let's do it. Now, of course, the main question is, why? Why would Joe Biden decide this? And why did he do so now that he only has weeks left in office? And also now that peace negotiations seemed closer than ever, or at least since the negotiations in Turkey in 2022. Now, reportedly, the reason why the Joe Biden administration did this is based on the claim that Russia has been using North Korean troops in the Kursk region. By the way, we haven't seen any proof, no evidence of this, but the West claims that Russia has been using North Korean troops. To be clear, the Kursk region is Russian territory. It's been invaded by Ukrainian forces, and the claim is that Russia has been using North Korean troops to defend their own territory. So that is supposedly the reason why Joe Biden said, you know what, let's send some long-range missiles. Now, I've been thinking very hard to try to come up with some kind of possible thought processes that the Joe Biden administration must have experienced for this to make any kind of sense. Now, the first question that came to mind was, does the Joe Biden administration actually really believe that Ukraine can still win this war? Well, you would first have to define what winning is. What does winning look like? What should happen before Ukraine can claim victory? And second of all, no! Now take a look at this article from Time magazine. It has the unambiguous title, Ukraine can't win the war. Now this article from Politico says Ukraine is heading for defeat. And also this article from The Conversation says Ukraine cannot defeat Russia. The best the West can do is help Kiev plan for a secure post-war future. And even the use of these long-range missiles provided by the West is believed will not fundamentally change the outcome of this war. So no, I don't believe that the Joe Biden administration believes that Ukraine can still win this war, or at least it's very unlikely. But if that is true, then why these missiles? Well, could it be that Joe Biden believes that he can stall Russia and prolong the war for some reason? Well, this has actually been one of the talking points of the West. So of course they've been sanctioning Russia like crazy, and they've been telling the populace that by doing so they will economically cut off Russia from the rest of the world, and eventually Russia will crumble. Continually they've been saying to the people to hold on just a little longer still, it will happen. Let's give Ukraine more money, let's give them more weapons and even more weapons, it will happen. Well, we're almost 3 years into this war, and it seems like Russia has only been getting stronger and stronger, economically, militarily, and diplomatically, and those sanctions seems to only have backfired on the West, especially Europe. And yes, of course, the Russian economy at the moment is facing some challenges, but there are absolutely no signs whatsoever of Russia collapsing. So I don't think that trying to stall Russia is a very plausible explanation for why Joe Biden did this, especially considering that Donald Trump has been promising that he will bring this war to an end as soon as he takes office. So do you really believe that Joe Biden believes that he can bring down Russia within weeks? Now, could it be then maybe that by doing this, Joe Biden has been trying to please some investors? Could that be the case? Well, of course, there's been a lot of talk about organizations like BlackRock or JP Morgan being very much involved in Ukraine, but isn't it very likely that their investments would be aimed at the financial sector or agriculture maybe and things like that. And these types of investments are very much dependent on, first of all, there being a Ukraine and there also being peace. And with these escalatory actions by Joe Biden, he's pretty much inviting Russia to completely destroy the entire country. So that doesn't really seem to add up. On the other hand, there's also something like the military-industrial complex. Now, of course, the longer this war drags on and the more intensive it is, the more the military-industrial complex may benefit. So who knows, maybe some part of the decision by Joe Biden might have something to do with this. Now, another idea is that the Joe Biden administration might believe that the situation that this has created could be used as bargaining chips when it finally does come to peace negotiations. So if Ukraine keeps pounding the Kursk region, for example, when it comes to negotiations, they might be able to say, well, we are going to stop firing these missiles if you give us this and this and this. So that is kind of, well, it seems like a pretty plausible explanation. However, it is a very dangerous game they're playing. Of course, Russia could retaliate. They could retaliate, first of all, in Ukraine itself, but also they could also say, well, if you, the US, if you are permitting Ukraine to fire these missiles at us, we could also reinforce Iran, or maybe Lebanon, or maybe the Houthis, or maybe Cuba. So it is a very, very dangerous game. But I do believe that there is some plausibility to this. Now, and then there is also the idea that Joe Biden did this to make life as difficult as possible for the next Trump administration. Could that be true? Now again, Donald Trump has been promising that he will end the war within 24 hours. Now, 24 hours seems a little bit optimistic, but the idea is that he promised to end the war very quickly. Now, this situation that's been created by Joe Biden, of course, undoubtedly complicates things and will probably make it more difficult to accomplish this. But on the other hand, Donald Trump will be the president of the United States. I believe that if he really wants to end this war will end. I mean, without the backing of the US, Ukraine and even Europe is nowhere. So yes, I do believe that there is some plausibility to this idea, but on the other hand, it also seems a little bit futile. And then there is one more idea left, and that is that Joe Biden is completely out of his mind. Could that be true? Well, I'm not going to answer that one. I'll leave that up to you. But anyway, what do you think? What do you believe is actually going on here? Let me know in the comments.